Okay. I'd like to call to order the West Mifflin Area School District voting meeting on Thursday, September 24th, 2020. It's being held virtually via Zoom, meeting to begin at 7:10 p.m. Before we get into roll call, Joe, I'd just like to take a moment of silence. We recently had a former board member, Dan McDonald, pass away, so I'd just like to recognize Dan in a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call.
Ahern.
Did we lose Judy?
Yeah, it looks like we lost.
She's not on there.
She was.
I just tried to text her. Did you get a hold of her, Joe?
Yeah, she's trying to get in. She's having trouble. Could possibly someone forward her the link that you got, and I'll just change the name.
I did, Joe.
Okay, thanks. All right, I sent her the public invite, and I can pull her over if I see her pop up.
Well, I don't know how we could move forward with roll call.
Well, I'm going to bring her. I'm going to bring her into the meeting. She's going to try an outside link.
He could just, Joe can have the record reflect when he brings her in what time she began to attend the meeting.
Okay, let's move forward then, Joe. Roll call.
You're on mute.
You're muted. We're struggling here tonight.
Ahern, Alexandrov, Blazevich,
Here.
Engler,
Here, and Judy's here.
Staunig,
I love technology.
Marshall,
You're
Here.
muted.
Mattis,
Here.
White,
Here.
DeCenzo,
Here.
and let the record reflect Judy is in the meeting.
All right, presentations.
Thank you, Mr. President. 3 presentations tonight. The first one, congratulations to Dr. Christopher Hanna, Humville Principal, for defending his dissertation, Emotional Behavioral Disability Students, How Emotional Social Intelligence Empowers Mainstream Elementary Teachers, and earning his doctorate degree in Educational Leadership from Walden University. Presentation B, congratulations to Dr. Hal Minford, Middle School Assistant Principal, for defending his dissertation, Emotional Intelligence and Coaching, and earning his doctorate degree in Educational Leadership from Point Park University. Presentation C will be tonight by Premier Power Solutions with Matt Zanka and Nikki Vigna.
Okay, let me unmute. Wait. Yeah, and Matt. There's Nikki. She's here.
I'm here.
And we lost Matt.
We did lose Matt. I saw him on here. I don't know where he is. Do you just want me to continue without Matt?
Please.
Okay. I know he's disappointed that he's not on here. Matt has been procuring energy, both electric and natural gas, for you guys for some time. I work with Matt at Premier Power Solutions. My name is Nikki Vigna with I am a senior energy procurement professional. I'm a certified procurement professional in energy. So I am taking over as Matt retires his clients, which you are lucky ones that I get to assist with this current RFP. So most recently, we had contacted you because natural gas market is favorable, especially for the future years where you can reduce your spend on natural gas. So we had contacted you, and on September 1st, we sent on an RFP requesting bids in from natural gas suppliers for the start of September 1st, 2021, terms beginning at that time. When we sent out that RFP, we sent it out to 12 suppliers and we had 7 respond. And the response from that was positive. We were showing a savings to the school board. So we had presented that savings to the business office and made a plan to prepare for this meeting to refresh with suppliers, which we did that yesterday on the 23rd. We refreshed with the top 3, and the winning supplier was the current supplier, who is the incumbent, which is Snyder Brothers. You're currently paying $3.26.5 a decatherm for natural gas. And this current offer for 36 months, the best offer and the recommended offer from us is $2.90.3. So that's a savings of 11%. Your current spend is $74,069 annually for gas supply. This will reduce your annual spend beginning in September of 2021 to $65,857. That's an 11% savings. So that is our recommendation, that you would move ahead with that contract this evening to lock in that price for September 1st, 2021 for 36 months.
Thank you, Nikki. Does anyone have any questions or or anything for Nikki or Matt?
I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Zanko, for your service to this district. You've always had the best for the district. Thank you again and welcome, Nikki.
Oh,
I
thank
agree.
you very much. We've been working for the school district for about 14 years now, and quite a bit of savings. So Nikki is our senior business development manager, and she's done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah,
Right,
Matt, thank
so-
you very much, because you've also worked with the borough too to try to maximize savings for taxpayers. And welcome
For a little,
aboard, Mrs.
for a little
Sigma.
less time, yes, about 12 years, 13 years for the borough. Same pricing, same savings. Yes.
Okay, well, thank you both for all your help, and if nobody has any questions, then we'll continue on. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. All right, hearing of the citizens, public comment. In order to provide public comment through the district's website, the following must be met, must include your name and home address in the email, must be a West Mifflin, Whitaker, or Duquesne resident. Matter must have been discussed through the proper education channels. Direct email comments to the board president and/or superintendent.
All right, Mr. President, we had a number of comments. First one is Valerie Nazarek, 615 School Street, West Mifflin. To whom this may concern, I am writing this in response to a recent meeting in regards to the school police officers. I would like to add that they are necessary to the flow of the school. The first reason why they are important is because of all the school shootings. Safety is the first priority. Second, having a special needs child who is so uncertain with constant changes every year, new classes, new teachers, new environments, and for special needs children, as you know, is quite challenging. I could speak for my child that she has struggled with such changes, but definitely would feel safe when redirected with the help of the middle school police officers. She has grown attached to them as her safety, and in times of escalation, I feel safe knowing she is with caring, supportive staff. I worry every minute of the day about my child, and the only reason I can feel some relief knowing there are armed police in the school who are trained to do their job. In a time of uncertainty, we definitely need our police to remain the same, and I would add more certified police to support the educators when needed. I think we need to also teach our children to respect all authorities, and police are critical at this point we are living in today. Personally, I would like to thank them for their help with my daughter and pray they remain the same in an ever-changing world that we are in today. Thank you, the Valerie Nazarek family. Next comment is from Rebecca Saboka, 4131 Vista View Street, West Mifflin. I am both a teacher and a taxpayer in the district because I monitor the social media for several of the district's organizations, including the high school Facebook page. I've seen many comments, mostly negative, about the education the students are receiving virtually, the technology issues that have occurred, and the crowd sizes at sporting events. What everyone needs to be aware of is, in all of these situations, is that not one of them is the fault of the teachers. In fact, the teachers in this district are working harder than ever to give the students as much of an education as possible, despite the circumstances. The teachers are the ones making this work. When someone has an issue with Schoology or some other technological problem that doesn't require an administrative password to solve, it is the other teachers who are coming to the rescue, finding solutions or workarounds for the problem. Teachers are not just working 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. in 2.5 hours in the evening, like some have said on social media. I can tell you that from my own personal experience, I've worked anywhere from 8 to 12 hours each day, plus 2 to 6 hours over each weekend. I know this because I meticulously track what I have done each day since September 8th. And I welcome anyone to check my notes in any time. When I drive past Homeville on my way home, usually around 1 or 2 p.m., there are still cars in the parking lot. Many teachers there are staying even longer hours to do what they have to do to educate your children. In addition, many of my colleagues over the district are sacrificing time they could be spending with their own families to do their jobs to the best of their abilities. Their efforts and the efforts of every other teacher in the district deserve to be acknowledged and appreciated. While I would love to be in person with our students, it is additionally critical that we provide not only an education to our students, but also a safe environment in which to learn, where the threat of spreading the novel virus that could do more harm than good does not exist. While threats to young people are minimal, the threats to vulnerable populations are greater. The safety must be a priority to everyone in our schools. While this virtual learning situation is not ideal for learning or teaching, we cannot give up on preventative measures to stop the spread of the virus, as it is not gone and still spreading. Pandemic fatigue is real and prevalent in our communities. And when considering how our students should learn, safety for all stakeholders should always be our #1 priority. Please consider this when making any decisions about of education in the district. The next comment is from Nicole Lowers, 1030 Houston Drive, West Mifflin. She addresses Mr. Souls in the school board. Hello, I'm a homeowner and a taxpayer that resides in West Mifflin. My son is a sixth grade student at West Mifflin Area Middle School. In addition, I'm also a teacher for another district that is in its 5th successful week of full-time in-person instruction. The district where I work didn't plan for COVID to magically disappear in August, nor did they plan to hide from COVID, like West Mifflin is evidently doing. They planned for returning to a 5-day per week in-person instruction. The school district where I teach implemented social distancing, sanitation, mask wearing, and health measures to ensure the students receive the free and appropriate education that they deserve. I would love to share these ideas with you. The district where I work gave the parents the freedom to decide whether to send their children to school or participate in remote instruction. Several other larger districts in our area decided to have in-person instruction: West Jefferson Hills, Keysport, Clairton, Ringgold, Bell Vernon. The majority of the parents in the district where I work chose in-person instruction, like the majority of the parents of West Mifflin Area School District. Thus far, West Mifflin chose not to listen to the majority of the taxpayers in the district and instead implemented an academic technology nightmare that is detrimental to the growth of our students who are guaranteed a free and appropriate public education. Not all students can learn through sitting in front of a computer, where the majority of the conferences on the adapted schedule are taken up by connectivity issues and taking attendance. Many parents had issues with the initial assessing the link to Schoology due to the incorrect link for West Mifflin Area School District Schoology page being made on the WMASD homepage. Parents and grandparents without sufficient computer experience were expected to jump through hurdles and links to find the correct link. Schoology is also glitchy and only works properly on the Google Chrome platform. However, the links are all Microsoft Edge. The online learning platform is lacking the academic rigor in learning that can optimally be achieved via in an in-person setting. Many students, especially younger students, experience a great deal of difficulty with learning in front of a screen. Students need in-person interactions with their teachers in order to reach their full potential. Lab experiments and cooperative learning and frequent feedback monitoring teacher cannot take place online. A full day of instruction is also not being delivered online. The students are receiving 4 hours maximum per day of via remote instruction. They only have the opportunity to have direct contact with core teachers for 1 hour each day per subject. If they were in person, they would have approximately 1 hour per day per core subject with their teachers. This is a substantial difference in actual instructional time. West Mifflin cannot afford this loss of instructional time, especially during times of concern with drops in the middle school and high school proficiency rates on the PSSAs. West Mifflin should be focusing on remediation and ways to provide more instructions to the students. West Mifflin is also in danger of losing students to PA Cyber in private school due to significant decrease in instructional time. Each West Mifflin PA Cyber and Gore student takes away funding from West Mifflin Area School District. The present remote learning school model is also affecting many families of students with disabilities. These students need sufficient educational services to meet their individual needs. Remote learning is not their least restrictive environment. These students are regressing due to the lack of routine and insufficient time allotted to meet learning needs. Students also cannot receive proper life skills instruction or prompting through a computer screen. What are the present regression rates for these students due to the school closure? It is out of the district's hands when the state ordered the closure. However, now this is in the hands of the district because West Mifflin chose to keep the schools closed. This is also affecting the students socially and mentally. It is also a part of learning. Students need to interact with other students in order to grow, even if they are wearing masks. Students learn social skills, problem-solving skills, and coping skills through interacting with peers. Keeping students away from their peers affects their social and mental well-being. In closing, thank you for reading my comments. Students need to be back in the school building to receive the education that they deserve. Mask wearing, sanitation, taking temperatures via temperature scanning cameras, and social distancing measures can be achieved in West Mifflin if they are achieved in other larger neighboring districts. If many of our district parents were able to hang out in Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, and Target, intermingling with various strangers in the midst of COVID, why can't we give the parents and students the choice? Sincerely, Nicole Lowers. Next comment is from Dan Beck, 6815 Buchanan Avenue, West Mifflin. I would like to know both the data and evidence used in making the decision to go homeschooling over both hybrid and or full in-school teaching, not general for safety reasons, which was actually used. Secondly, what needs to happen to switch from homeschool to the other two options? It is a certain number of is it a certain number of tests or is a certain positivity rate? Exactly and definitively what was used for the first decision, and exactly and definitively what needs to change, and to what to get the children, at least those that want to be back in the school setting. The public has been given general and political mumbo jumbo from all sides since the beginning, both nationally and in the state. It would be nice if you could set the standard and be upfront and concise with us that others haven't. No politics, no butt covering, just straight, honest truth. Parents and students alike deserve the honest and fact-based truth. Next comment is from Thomas Smolinski, 430 Diller Avenue, West Mifflin. He writes, for last month's board meeting, I submitted a list of 7 questions seeking more information regarding how exactly the board and administration plan to conduct the all remote learning model that had been proposed and ultimately approved by a vote of 6-3. The board chose to disregard all but one inquiring when the additional student tech was ordered. The board and Dr. Souls went on to tell the public that the plans were in place so that the educational needs of our students, including those with IEP/504 plans about which I specifically inquired, would be sufficiently met. We are now a month behind from the regular school start date of August 26th and 3 weeks into the debacle of what arose out of a complete lack of leadership and planning by the board and administration. Did the board's education committee have a proposed all remote plan to review before the August meeting? Was one even requested from the administration? How about the technology committee? Were there any written plans or proposals that were given to the board to review prior to the vote to change the reopening plan. It is painfully obvious that there was, in fact, no coherent or competent plan to address the all remote model. It was embarrassing to see the district on the news because no one had the forethought to update the security patches before distributing the tech devices. How much additional money did the district have to pay Ford business machines to cram to get the work done that should have been done prior to the device distribution? Over the past 3 weeks, I've lost time at work so that my wife and I could help our middle school son get logged in and navigate the online programs. So far, he has not had a single live instruction beyond being told what to watch a video or take an assessment test. Several of his teachers have been late for a few of the live sessions due to not being able to log on. We've had to submit the same assignment several times due to the system showing the assignment was submitted and then showing overdue the next day. He has missed several tutoring sessions due to the poor tech, including the tutor informing us that she never received our emails due to the system email not working. Links to various required items were, and still to date, are missing. After talking to other parents and reading the forums like Facebook West Mifflin remote learning page, it is clear that the problems are extensive. There's no district uniformity when it comes to the assignments, instruction, live sessions, and all the other aspects pertaining to academics. At least several administrators are aware of West Mifflin remote learning page and since have made some comments on it. I do recognize that Mr. Fort has responded on the page and provided some guidance and assistance to some of the posts. Another issue is the number of students that have left the district and enrolled in cyber public schools because of the all remote mess. I personally know several. The loss of each student to those schools costs the district several $1,000s. Multiply that amount by even 10 students and the cost is over $100,000. We, the taxpayers, are now on the hook to pay the tuition for these students in addition to all of the regular costs of the district. We have already been warned about a tax increase. How much more will we needlessly have to pay? At the August meeting, many questions, including my own, concerned the IEP 504 students. Dr. Sewell made a flippant remark. Parents of the IEP 504 children should be familiar with FAPE, which is free and appropriate public education. In fact, I made myself familiar with the PA code, CFRs, and I can tell you that the West Mifflin Area School District has failed to provide the proper services to these children. Many of these children require more in-depth accommodations and methods of teaching, especially when identified in a child's educational plan. How does one teach a child that needs in-person interaction by distant learning? How are the parents supposed to know the effective techniques learned over years of training by the teachers to help the students that are already at a disadvantage? Why aren't these students given the chance to have at least some in-person instruction when the teachers are in the building and the number of students in any given time would be minimal? There are students allowed in the buildings for other activities, including reasons listed on the agenda for this meeting. Why not students trying to get the appropriate assistance that they need for their schooling? Tell me how to approach a situation where such a child is so upset and frustrated by the lack of any real schooling that he just wants to give up because he feels the situation is hopeless. Numerous surrounding school districts and private schools have students in person in their buildings from 2 to 5 days a week. I don't recall hearing of any local districts having COVID outbreaks and shuttering in their buildings. In fact, the news is reporting quite the opposite, with Seneca Valley being the most recent to report that it will be going back in an in-person model. The Keysport area has been in person 5 days a week since the start of school, and there have been no problems. South Allegheny, South Park, etc. All have had in-person instruction. West Mifflin already has phased a school reopening health and safety plan completed and approved by the Commonwealth. The plan details things like social distancing, cleaning, disinfecting, coordinating transportation class movements, the monitoring of students and staff. Since it was approved by the Commonwealth, one can assume that it complies with the requirements of the CDC, the Pennsylvania Department of Health. If a parent makes the personal choice to continue their student schooling via the all remote method, I respect that choice, and the district should provide the opportunity. To deny the rest of the students is a blanket policy. The opportunity to attend the school in person for academics on the chance that someone may contract the infection does not hold water. The argument that West Mifflin as a municipality has had some cases of the disease and thus the school should remain closed is ridiculous. Now we are told another committee or maybe someone that didn't prepare for the all remote, who knows, will make a recommendation in week 5 about the form of instruction going forward from this point. It will no doubt take several weeks to implement any change. Just coincidentally bringing us to the end of the first 9 weeks of school. How many more weeks of this insanity must we endure? How much more time will these students lose, and how much further academically will they be behind? The last board meeting was filled with officials congratulating and thanking each other ad nauseum. Don't do it. No one has done anything for which they deserve to be congratulated or thanked. Fix this mess and then see if any accolades are appropriate. Next comment is, my name is from Mindy Cunningham, and I think we're missing an address, but her name's 4001 Francis Street, West Mifflin. I have 4 children in the WMASD. I wanted to voice my concern about these kids need to be back in person. So many surrounding districts are doing all in person or at least a hybrid option. My 8th grader needs to be in school and have that one-to-one with the teacher in person. When they are in the computer meetings, he is not giving them his full attention. My 5th graders' teachers are not computer smarts, and seems they are having so much trouble trying to navigate, which takes time away from actual learning. He is a straight A student who has been tested for the gifted program twice and missed it by a few points. He also has ADHD. He needs to be in school to be able to stay focused and not be in the comfort of his home. My kindergarten needs to be in school to learn the important things that are taught in kindergarten. Not just the academics, but the other aspects they learn too. For example, manners, sharing. My last son is in 3 Yo pre-K in Homeville. He needs to be in school to be around his kids his own age to help build his speech. Most important reasons include mental health of myself. Please come be a fly on the wall of my house. See how stressed I am on a daily basis when I have anxiety and depression. Try being pulled in 4 different directions at the same time. 4 kids fighting for your help who are 4 totally different places in school. I did not go to school to be a teacher. I'm trying to teach 4 kids while running not 1, but 2 small businesses. This is not okay. Please, 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 I beg you, put these kids back into the building. I know we, as a district, can do this safely. Next comment is Brooke Dobnak, 304 Valview Drive, West Mifflin. Hello, as a parent of 3 students in the West Mifflin Area School District, I just wanted to voice my opinion on remote learning. Overall, it's not working. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm here to be a voice for my children. The past 2 weeks have been extremely stressful and counterproductive. My household is now full of stress, meltdowns, and chaos. My middle school children are doing assignments, but not being taught anything. Basically, forced self-teach. My kindergartner is being taught material through videos, which is great, but his focus and discipline are not what they would be if he was in class. I'm almost positive we will not make another 7 weeks this way. The grades that my children receive from this remote learning will be a joke. I have 2 straight A middle schoolers who received D's in almost failing grades in the last quarter of last year. That's not okay with me. They need to be in school. Thank you for your time and attention. Next comment, Natalie Knight. Natalie Knight resides at 630 Edgewood Avenue, West Mifflin. To whom it may concern, I'm writing this letter because I feel it has a huge impact on her. I'm writing this letter. Okay. To whom it may concern, I'm writing this letter because I feel it's a huge impact on our children's safety. I usually do not get involved. However, this is very important to me. Paul Eagle is a very great officer who goes above and beyond his job to better our children and the school and keep all safe. Our children feel safe with Paul or police at West Mifflin Area School District. I understand we have security guards, which are very helpful, and each of them do a wonderful job in safety control. But knowing we have a cop at the school makes me, as a mother of three, feel better. I hope this letter helps to keep our police at our schools. I hope y'all continue to keep safe, and thank you for reading. Sincerely, Natalie. Next comment, Lauren Rao, 1747 Timothy Drive, West Mifflin. There's a word that is desperately needed right now, and that word is transparency. Transparency builds trust and makes people feel more engaged and committed to a unified vision. It is a way that is easy for others to see actions are performed with openness, communication, and accountability. Let me start by saying that our technology has not been sufficient for both students and teachers during this pandemic. As a parent in the district, I see fellow parents enraged about it on social media. In turn, the teachers, especially elementary teachers, are getting the brunt of it. They are too frustrated with the technology because they are a year behind on learning Schoology, waiting for tablets for their students from a grant we received. Teachers' computers are outdated and crashing daily with no backup available. I can ask why weren't these updates completed during the summer, but I'm not going to start with the blame game. That is where transparency is needed. We are where we are, and I need to stop and realize that I need to be a part of the solution and not the problem. I need to do this as a parent and as a teacher for our children who are watching our every move and reaction. I am more helpful when I can answer a call from a frustrated parent or make sure that all my students have an art supply bag during this time. A remote learning environment needs to have equal accessibility for all parties involved so that there's a fluid communication and accountability on both ends. Everyone needs to have the same equipment to complete the material. No matter if we are remote, hybrid, or 5 days in the classroom, our technology has to be better for the sake of our students, our families, and our teachers. For transparency, I have eyewitness teachers helping teachers learn programs over the summer in small groups, calling, emailing, running back and forth from classroom to classroom, trying to get this right. Public education is under attack, and we are not allowing this pandemic to destroy our district or another year of learning. A community is only strong as its school district. I'm proud to say that my child is a West Mifflin student because of our teaching staff. So as a West Mifflin citizen, alum, it was disheartening to turn on the news and see my alma mater broadcasted twice within 24 hours over technology problems and sporting event complications. We have proper protocol at our events when there is transparency. Proof of that success is when we hosted 3 sessions of our 2020 graduating ceremony at the stadium with proper guidelines being met by our families, teachers, students, administrators, security, and custodial staff. It is amazing that we can and have, it is amazing what we can and have done when we all focus on this together for our children. Next comment, Diane Stanasic. She's Glenny Lane Extension, 2803 Glenny Lane Extension, West Mifflin. She comments, the agenda didn't post until 6 p.m. Why are comments still due at noon and not extended? And when are we going to see work sessions on Zoom? Number 1, congratulations to Dr. Hanner and Dr. Minfer upon successfully defending their dissertations. 2, under Board of Directors 582, the board has 30 days to replace the seat vacated by the resignation of Mrs. White, and the advertisement for letters of interest to fill that vacancy should be in the paper. No name should be voted on tonight. Number 3, to quote the findings of the pre-counts audit findings, the district was found to have reported inaccurate, false financial information after accepting legal acknowledgement of accurate and correct financial information and expenditures. In the most recent 3-quarter expenditure report submission, the district reported higher grant expenditures amount than actual. I find this to be quite disturbing, and if assistance is needed to report this information accurately, then it needs to be done. Under Title I, Part A, what is the item listed 2850 state and federal liaison for $1,000 and under Title 4, Part A, 2850 state federal liaison for 3,000 mean. Number 5, professional personnel A1 through 9. Since when do we list as employee number, as in last month's professional personnel, the names of the employees were listed, and it has always been that practice. This has not been the policy, and why is the chairman of this committee keeping this information from the public? It appears that the names aren't being used to keep the residents in the dark, or are we making up rules as we go along? In addition, since finances are really tight, I will again ask that the board hire a few more security guards and disband the $600,000 school police, which we can't afford. In addition, since teacher salaries were frozen, so should administrative raises be frozen. Next comment is Jessica Rhodes. She's at, hello, my name is Jessica Rhodes, and I live at 2224 Reuben Drive, West Mifflin. I would like to start by saying we're all in this together and need to work as if we're all in it together to make an effective and safe solution for all children and families. Let me give you some background. I'm a pediatric nurse and have been with UPMC for over 15 years. Recently, due to the pandemic, our roles as nurses in my current position have changed. We took over all COVID-19 triage and evaluation for everyone in the states of PA. At first in March, things were steady, but then increased over the following few months. During these times, many things have changed, such as restrictions on outings, places that were allowed to open, and many more, as we're all aware. Within the last 3 months, things have slowly been opening up, except one thing in particular, daycare. If anyone has a younger child, we all know the risks involved with sending these young kids, yet they have been back for months, and our numbers did not significantly increase. Also, a true exposure is considered close contact without a mask more than 15 minutes, and it's just not passing someone for a few seconds. I know there are many fears about COVID and the vulnerable population, but let me express that I am also included in this group. I'm a mother of 4 wonderful kids, but my son, who is only 2, has significant respiratory medical issues and is in and out of Children's Hospital quite frequently. Something like this could potentially harm him significantly or even worse. But I also need to look at my other children, as they are just as equally important. My oldest child suffers from severe anxiety and ADHD, and he also has an IEP. Let's take a step back from even talking about the IEP. As we all know, the need for the educational need. Instead, let's focus on more pressing issue of mental health. Have you looked into the numbers for increase of suicide and hospitalizations for other things such as abuse, neglect, and harm done? Well, let me inform you that those numbers have dramatically increased. We all need to look at this. Is physical health more important than medical health? More people are actually dying right now from mental health issues such as the ones listed above rather than physical health. Don't get me wrong, measures need to be brought into schools to keep our kids safe, masks, social distancing, etc. But there are ways to do this. So I would like to offer some solutions instead of complaints. They do not help create a resolution for the problem. Here are a few of my suggestions. Teacher, move from classroom to classroom instead of the kids. Open the cafeteria and auditorium into classrooms. Offer virtual still for those who fear their child coming to school. Reach out to the health department for guidance if struggling with solutions. Check temperatures when the kids come to school. Offer to put the elementary kids from Homeville to Clara Barton where more room is available. These are just few of the solutions I've offered, and I'm sure there are other parents who have more, but let's get back to the nature of the beast, which is mental health. Yes, I'm worried about my children's education and normalcy, or what we can make of it, but I am more worried about the mental health of our children and parents. As we have seen that increase in abuse, neglect, and suicide, we all need to focus on this. Again, I'm also a mother of a severely compromised respiratory child, but that doesn't make his needs more important than the rest of my children. I'm a very cautious person if you don't know me. I have signs on my house. My kids rarely go out, and we do wear masks when we leave, but we can't bottle up our community for school. See many things happenings such as sporting events, weddings, funerals, daycares, where they share snot and saliva, and even protests. All these things are important in mental health. So let's work together to come to a peaceful, effective solution for everyone so we can decrease those mental health numbers. And finally, the last comment is Maria Masillo, 4400 Elizabeth Street, West Mifflin. I gave two students, I have two students currently, one an 8th grader and another a junior at the high school. We need these children back in school. My son spent the first 2 weeks missing out on all live sessions, instructions, and work because of computer issues. I had to take off work just to go to the school to see if someone was able to help him. Still in the 3rd week of school, he's behind along with a lot of other students in the district. Families that work full-time or have single-parent homes cannot stop working to help the student. These children need in-school instruction. Restaurants are open, daycares are open, sports spring full to capacity are taking place. Why are these children not in school learning? You email the superintendent and his response is, we will evaluate. I know I'm frustrated like other parents and students. My son told me, Mom, I don't care if we have to wear masks all day. I just want to be back in school. Please, please, please let the children back in school. They need it, and you as a school board knows that. And that's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Esper. I don't know, Mr. Souls, if you'd be willing to make like kind of a statement to address most of those concerns that were raised here.
Absolutely, and we understand the frustration level of the parents as well as our teachers and so forth. And we are developing a plan as to bringing students back. But again, we're going to update our health and safety plan, and also we got to do some phasing as we do that process. So there are plans in place. There are meetings have already been taking place to put those actions into the schools and so forth. So, but we hear the parents. We're going to try. But, you know, there are variables we got to work out to make sure this is successful as we bring those students back and we're able to offer both modes of education if that's the fact.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Souls. Does anybody else have anything? Okay, we're going to move on to information items.
Thank you, Mr. President. Informational item A, special thanks to Ford Business Machines Incorporated for donating $5,000 to be used for 5 $1,000 scholarships to be awarded each over the next 5 school years. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Board Secretary, Business Managers Report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would respectfully request a motion second and approval on the following items. Item 5A under Board of Directors, number 1. It is recommended the board accept the resignation of the director, Aaron White, effective immediately.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Mattis,
Second.
second by Mr. Blazevich. Any questions or comments?
I do have a comment. I have something I'd like to read if I could. For those of you that don't know, school board members are responsible for 3 functions: planning, setting policy, and evaluating results. That's it. Please allow me to give you a brief synopsis of my 7 7-year journey being a board member. Back on June 2nd, 2015, a verbal complaint was made to me and another board member from a taxpayer, and I reported it to administration. After doing so, I received an email from an administrator which stated that he can only hope that one day my children will experience torment and that I am definitely going to help.
Ms. White, I'm going to ask you not to discuss any personnel or litigation matters. I know that this revolves around both of those issues. So I'm going to ask that you please refrain from doing that. You are still a sitting board member, and we certainly can't have a breach of confidentiality.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have to say. I just want to thank the public for everything and their support in voting for me and supporting me. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm sorry that it has to end like this, but there is a lack of communication, leadership with this board. I guess I'll continue. I am going to continue. Sure. After 5 years of holding the position, on May 22nd, I resigned as Buildings and Ground Chairperson. I no longer felt comfortable in that position, and I will never be anyone's scapegoat. Some of the board members didn't even know that I resigned until yesterday. And here we are all these months later. Lack of communication. On August 30th, I sent an email requesting pertinent information regarding laptop distribution. I asked if the IT department was providing us with all the necessary additional resources, as well as how many additional staff and extra man hours were worked. I, as vice president, never received this information. In fact, it took until September 17th to find out why the laptops were being recalled. Our district was on the news regarding the overcapacity at the 9/11 game. On 9/12, I requested an in-person executive session be held the following evening, and the president denied it. As recently as 12:06 a.m. on Sunday, 9/13, I received an inaccurate, inappropriate, and harassing email sent by a board member. Inappropriate and no consequences held to him. I want to thank those that have supported me and my effort, but it is quite impossible for me to fulfill my school board member duties when one is denied and or ignored when asking for meetings to be held, information requested, and being harassed. It is now time for me to hold my head high up and resign from the West Mifflin Area School Board. Thank you to all that have supported me. It is greatly appreciated. And I mean that from my heart. Thank you.
Do I have a roll call?
Ahern,
Yes.
Alexandrov, oh, he's not here. Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
No.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes.
And just publicly, I voted no because I wish Aaron wouldn't resign. She's a great person, a long time member of the community with a great family.
Okay.
Okay, we're moving on. A number 2 is recommended the board take nominations of individuals to fulfill the vacant Board of School Directors seat for the remainder of Mrs. White's term.
Do I have a nomination from any member of the board?
I have a nomination.
Go ahead, Mr. Blazevich.
Before we get into that, Krisha, can you address the comment that was brought up by comment?
I think there was a scintilla of truth there, but it was backwards. You only have 30 days to seat a board member. Once we've accepted Ms. White's resignation within 30 days, if we fail to do that, then anybody of the public within West Mifflin Area School District can petition the court and have the court appoint somebody to that position. Being that you're not required, you can certainly ask for letters of interest, and you can certainly go through a process of interviewing and appoint them, but you would need to do that within 30 days of today's date. In fact, I would recommend 29 days. I know that things are moving quite quickly here with the changing and the plan for COVID. So if there is a majority vote here tonight to seat someone in Ms. White's position, that's certainly legal and permissible.
Thank you. I want to nominate Bill Bennett. He's a resident of West Mifflin, and I think many of us know him as an active member of our community, and he's also interested. So Bill Bennett would be my nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, so I believe we
So
need
Mr.
a roll.
DeCenzo, being that there's no other nominations, we'll just take a roll call vote. And you're voting to appoint Mr. Bennett, yes or no to not appoint Mr. Bennett?
Roll call, Mr. Esper?
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll be in contact through the administration office to Mr. Bennett. If he's listening, we'll get him the proper paperwork. He'll need to be sworn in by Judge.
Krisha, she froze, so we'll move
David,
on.
Yeah, this is Gary Matta. Christian was just saying we'll get the appropriate paperwork over to Mr. Bennett for he can get sworn in front of Judge Olaz before the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving on then.
Moving on, 5A, numbers 3 through 7 on pages 1 and 2. Number 3 is ratifying a resolution giving the superintendent e-cig authority. Number 4, FBR was sold, Pathway Human Services, so our contract goes with them, so we have to agree to that. We are changed. Number 5, we are changing the broker of our Colonial Life Insurance Company products. Number 6 is an MOU with the West Mifflin Federation of Teachers pertaining to remote instruction during the 2021 school year. And number 7 is we do every year, we're mandated to do an Act 1 mailing to everybody who does not have the homestead farmstead exclusion. And I estimate those costs, which would be done through the AIU, to be $950.
Okay.
motion.
Motion by Mrs. Ahern,
Second.
second by Mr. Marshall. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes.
Moving on, 5B, finance. Numbers 1 through 12 on page 2. Items 1 or 2, we authorized last month to get some work done at the high school. So that's just making sure we cover the costs and where we paid it from. It actually, we ended up paying it from the construction fund and the general fund, and we're just reimbursing it from the capital projects fund is being reimbursed from the construction fund 219. We have a small amount of tax refunds, number 3. Number 4 is accepting the special education IDEB 611 discretionary from the state. That's $175,000. We had to move $5,000 from the general fund to the athletic department since we started up with sports. And 6 through 11 is just closing a bunch of accounts that we've held for a number of years, and the interest rates are not what they used to be, and this will just consolidate a lot of accounts and make it a lot easier to track everything. And number 12 is establishing a money market fund as part of the general fund, so I can park revenue that we don't need and get a higher interest rate and bring it over as we need it.
Is that added? Is number 12
Yeah,
added?
that was the added one, yes.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second.
second by Mr. Mattis. Any questions or comments?
And Joe, I think it's the item for that indicates it's a pension account. It's not truly a retirement account. That's just the name of it. I guess in the past they had taken money and set aside, but you said we just made our pension payment for the teachers union for this quarter.
Yeah, that was when the PSERS rates many years ago really started to skyrocket. Many school districts created a pension escrow fund where they would contribute money to, in case they had trouble making their pension obligations. I didn't go back and look to see when the last time we actually added money to it. I know it's been sitting there for years and years. And again, you know, by consolidating all of these counts, it just makes the entire process more streamlined, more transparent to the board. And, you know, we can use that money in the general fund.
All right, any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and Vincenzo.
Yes.
Moving on to 5C, purchase and contracting items number 1 through 3 on page 3. This is a referral agreement with Jefferson Hospital. It's a 2-year agreement for behavioral health services. Number 2 is to ratify an agreement with EduLink. This is software that teachers, the administration uses to evaluate teachers, and teachers could go in and see what their what's the word? Not contracts, what their licenses or their, you know, their educational status is. And item number 3 is what was on the presentation, and that's to enter into an agreement which won't start until September of 2021, but we will be locking in that price for a period of 3 years going forward after that date.
All right, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Ahern,
Second.
second by Mr. Blazevich. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
Vincenzo.
Yes.
5D minutes, number 1 on page 3.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Marshall, second by Mrs. Kostelnik. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and Vincenzo.
Yes.
Item 5E, reports 1 through 5 on pages 3 and 4.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Mattis,
Second.
second by Mrs. Ahern. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and Vincenzo.
Yes.
Item 5F, refund subtracted from expenditures, number 1 on page 4.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second.
Second.
second by Mrs. Englert. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and Vincenzo.
Yes.
Item 5G, invoices numbers 1 through 5 on pages 4 and 5. I'll go through them briefly. The first 3 are legal tax services invoices. D and E are to pay for those school crossing guards. F is the first installment for our audit, our internal audit. Number G is a refund from the utility refund agency. It's not a refund, it's a payment. As you recall, we engaged them over a year ago to go through and find taxes that we had paid unnecessarily, and is a fee, and that's their fee, which actually works out to be 50% of what they found for us. Number And the last one is Dodaro, that's our solicitor, their monthly bill. The capital projects funds, those were the 2 invoices that we approved the work to have done last month. And number 3 is the construction fund 219. That's the ABM Building Solutions Phase 2 application 13. There are no expense accounts in the P cards.
All right, and do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Mattis. Anyone?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Englert. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes to all but 3.
Kostelnik,
No to 3A and no to 5. The rest, yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes.
All right, Mr. President, 1 and 2 and 4 passed 7-0, 5 passed 6-1, and 3 passed 5-2. Okay, moving on, H, requisitions, others, numbers 1 and 2 on page 5. We did have 3 executive sessions, September 3rd, September 17th, and September 24th to discuss personal and legal issues.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Kostelnik.
Second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Ahern. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes.
Mr. President, that so concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Esper. District operations. You're on mute, Mr. Souls.
You're
My fault. Mr. President, under district operations, we have A through D. It is recommended under A, the board approve eliminating the secretary position to the homeschool visitor and chief of police. It's recommended that the board approve the elementary student handbook, the middle school handbook, and the high school handbook for the 2021 school year.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Mattis.
Second.
Second by Mr. Blazevich. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes. Superintendent's report.
Yes, starting with the superintendent's report, under 7, student services, we're asked the board to approve 2 fine young students who want to graduate early from the 2021 school year. So we asked for the board to approve that under A. Under B, we have no student activities. Number 2, it is recommended the board ratify or approve the following fundraisers. We have 3 fundraisers, all for the middle school yearbook. Under C, we have buildings and grounds. We're asking for the board to approve or ratify the building permits as presented. And that is all under letter 7.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Ahern.
Second.
Second by Mr. Marshall. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes. Professional personnel.
Yes, Mr. President, under professional personnel, we have A through E. A, listing the recommendation or from the board to approve and ratify our employees on leaves. Under B, C, and D, we have nothing to approve. Under E, under personnel, 1 through 7, motions 1 and 2 are for employees. Number 3, we're asking the board to approve a one-time stipend of $1,000 to Dr. Hannah for earning his doctorate degree. Also, we're asking the board to approve the department heads for the 2021 school year as followed. It's also asking the board to approve Molly Herbst as the cyber school liaison for $8,000 stipend. We're also asking the board to approve the following cyber school teachers, 6 through 12, as presented. And number 7, it's also recommended the board approve the following student activities and clubs for the 2021 school year as listed below.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I'm sorry, who's that? Mr. Mattis?
That was me. Yeah,
motion by Mr. Mattis.
Second.
Second by Mr. Blazevich. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Souls, is there, with the number of folks taking leaves, do we have adequate coverage with substitutes?
At the present time, we do, yes.
Okay.
We did jockey some employees around to make it work, but we're making it work, and all classes are covered at this time.
So as we consider coming back, will these have an impact?
Well, it could go 2 ways. People may come back due to the childcare issues, as we're seeing more schools going back into session. So some people may come back. There may be people with health concerns and so forth that won't want to be in the building with students. That may be a risk factor for them. So that's one of the variables we have to take into consideration as we plan our reopening phase.
Is there a supply of potential substitutes out there for us to bring in place of some of these folks if we had to?
The sub situation is very limited right now. I feel pretty fortunate what we have or what we've got from our source. But yeah, it is limited out there as far as getting subs here, especially in certain fields, especially special ed.
And then I'm just thinking through this out loud, right? So if we can only have, let's say 10 to 13 students in a classroom, that's half of what a normal class size would be. So for a 1 class last year, we would need 2 teachers this year, just in theory.
We will continue to try to social distance to the maximum amount possible. But you know, everyone has to realize schools weren't set up to keep kids away from each other 6 foot apart. So we're going to do the best we can with that. And you're absolutely right. There may be an overflow into other classes.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Roll call.
Aaron,
No to E1 and 2 because of the number of days. Yes to all others.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
No to E1 and 2. Yes to everything else.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
I vote present to item A, 1 through 9, and yes for the rest.
I don't even understand what that means.
You can vote present.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Mark him down as present.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes.
I don't even know how to read this. So,
Yeah.
so everything passed on a 7-0 vote. 8A 1 through 9 passed on a 6-to-present vote, and E 1 and 2 passed on a 5-to-2 vote.
Mr. Marshall, are you abstaining from those votes?
Yeah.
No,
Is that a
I'm
vote?
just present. Yeah.
And I believe it has to be recorded as a no vote. If that helps you, Mr. Esper.
Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow when we're doing the minutes.
So I guess that takes us to non-certified personnel.
That is correct. Under non-certified, Mr. President, we have A through E. Under A, we have leave of absence for our non-professionals or non-certified professionals as presented. Under B, we have resignations. Under C, we have no retirements. And under D, we have hiring and transfers. We ask that Michelle Kamoff, the displaced secretary from the homeschool visitor, be moved to the high school class 1 position. And also we ask the board to approve moving Mrs. Mary Beth Miller over to Homeville as a class 1 secretary. And we have nothing under letter E. So we're asking the board to approve A through D.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Mattis,
Second.
second by Mrs. Ahern. Any comments or questions? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes. Athletic personnel.
President, we have A through D. We have no leaves of absence, resignation. We have Craig Stanley resigning from the high school auditorium director. And under hirings, under C, under hirings, we're asking the board to approve three assistant football coaches, 1 at the varsity level and 2 at the middle school level. And we have nothing under other D. So we're asking the board to approve B and C tonight.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second.
second by Mr. Mattis. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Ahern,
Yes.
Blazevich,
Yes.
Englert,
Yes.
Kostelnik,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Mattis,
Yes.
and DeCenzo.
Yes. Substitutes, there are none. So I guess that takes us down conferences. There are none, and guess that concludes your report, Mr. Souls.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank
Yep.
you.
Board president's correspondence, there is none at this time. Executive session discussion, we discussed personnel. Board reports, does anyone want to report on a committee?
Mr. Esper, can we discuss the process that we're going through of eliminating the wide use of P cards and I guess the final number that we're going to have and how we're looking to control our expenses going forward?
Sure. We've I think at one time had 41 or 42 P cards. We've narrowed that down to, I have one, and right now the maintenance guys still have, the maintenance department has them. We'll eventually whittle it down to, I will have a P card and may have one for the district. So as far as controlling expenses, obviously we look at that every single day, and we're still under a very restricted spending mandate, but obviously we're in the business of education and we spend money on education. We're just trying to, be pretty frugal with any other areas that aren't educational. We will not cheat the children. We will never do that, but we're just going to cut where else we can.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I think if somebody does need access to have something mailed in or set up online, that they need a credit card, that they'll come through you in the process. There's not going to be where people are turned down. It's just to have lesser opportunities with multiple credit cards all over the district.
That would be correct.
Does anybody else have anything they'd like to report for committees?
And Mr. Souls, how are things going with our Steel Center folks, kids? Have they started going back yet, some of them?
The Steel Center kids are going back, and they're on a hybrid schedule. Some go Monday, Tuesday, some go Thursday, Friday. I believe we're running just over 70% out of 100 Steel Center kids. We have over 70 of them participating.
Okay, so it sounds like everything's okay there then? Good, thanks.
Yes.
So Mr. Esper, when will that cut and P card start? This month?
Excuse me?
I said, when will that cut and P cards start?
It's already, every P card was canceled with the exception of the maintenance department and myself.
And when was that?
That was done the day Mr. Souls started, August 20th, or the day after, August 21st.
The bill that we were voting on was August, correct? I believe so.
Yeah, the bill would have been for August, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have anything?
I just want to give a quick report from a technology committee standpoint, Tony.
Yes, sure. I think that would be appreciated.
Sure. So, I want to thank the Stephen Fort and the Ford team for putting in a lot of hours last week, and significant supplemental staff members to help with the emergency recall with the laptops. We did 1,500 laptops in 5 days, which is about 300 a day, and that's quite a lot. And so the cooperation and the customer service that I saw when I was at school, I felt was very professional and well done. Unfortunately, we had to do that. That kind of brings up my second point of the reason for all of that. We had a technology vendor make changes to systems that we connect to and did not tell us, and we found out at the very last minute, and that's what really forced our hand to make the changes to the computers and have to recall them. Without getting into grave detail, that was the true issue, among other issues as well with performance and hardware issues with the video. So we felt it was going to be best to bring them in. We had to bring them in anyway to make the change, but then to bring them in and try and improve the devices as best as possible while we have had them in the buildings for that 20-25 minutes. And executing that plan, Ford did a very nice job, I felt, of doing that. Unfortunately, we had to do it. But there are computers starting to arrive that we've ordered. Now they'll need to be processed and tagged. I think there's around close to 300 that showed up a couple of days ago. So we're getting closer. Now they need to be unboxed and processed and loaded and tagged and figure out how they're going to be distributed. But so hopefully we're coming around on the curve of this supply chain issue, and that we'll be getting these devices sooner than we originally thought.
Mr. Blake, we did receive 284 devices, and the plan of deployment is to focus on those students with iPads at this time with those devices.
And I think it's important to note that I would call it a show of force from Ford Technologies. All the guys and gals that they had working at the various schools did not cost us any additional money. That was an added benefit of the contract that we have, that, there's times when we need a lot of people, we'll have a lot of people. And they sent them all up, and we incurred no additional charges or fees as a result.
That's all I had, Mr. President.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for that clarification. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? All right, solicitors report.
Thank you. My report was given in executive session.
Okay, do I have any old business? Any new business?
I hate to bring it up, but do we want to talk about the changes to our schedule and when we might put that together? The change to the
Yeah, it's just going to be a new look. Yeah, it's that. I mean, Mr. Souls could, touch on that if he'd like, or give a Cliff Notes version of how we're going to move forward with our public meetings and how that's going to look, because it's going to be different than what we've done up to this point. So, Mr. Souls, if you'd like to.
Yeah, along with the work session, I think it'd be important that we run committee meetings concurrent with those, as so we could build the agenda at one time. All board members are there, committee of the whole. We'll go through each committee. The committees will then make the recommendations, what needs to go onto the agenda for approval by the full board. So I think we're just going to take the work session, we're going to morph it into some committee meetings as well, and then actually build our agenda. So people who can attend the committee meetings will also know what's going to be on the agenda once they leave there. The only two we will not do, those will all be public, except for, of course, personnel and any legal matters that we have to take in place. So
and safety also.
And safety, yes.
Yeah, things that are sensitive in nature.
Correct.
Yeah, we might.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's some technology items we might not want to talk about in public, and that could fall under safety, security. Just putting it out.
Legal, so forth. Yes.
And I think it's important to add that my goal is as much as I love Zoom and reading all those comments, we're gonna work very diligently at having an in-person meeting either at the high school or middle school. That's our goal here in the office, and the work session will most likely be a Zoom work session, and we'll hold the meetings in the auditorium, and we will have that agenda posted at least 24 hours prior to the meeting, so people have ample time, if not earlier, to review. So that's it. I can't promise it'll happen, but that's what we're aiming for if we could pull it off.
Mr. Esper, could you please
sir.
explain that 24 hours is a courtesy unique to West Mifflin School District? It's not in the school code. It's not anything mandated by some higher authority that we do. That's basically a policy that we've adopted on our own. As a courtesy to the residents.
Yeah, when we made the decision to go virtual, it's something that really Tricia came up with, and we agreed to that we would post the agenda by 7 p.m. the night before. That's not a rule. There was, I think, one time this year where I had a little trouble getting it up, so it was posted at 7:20. That meeting we did give additional time for comments, but it's posted at 7. You have 12 noon. Some people think for some reason it's 24 hours, it should be posted, but we've been doing it the same way since March, but obviously some people have gotten confused as to the process.
That has since become a recommendation of the Office of Open Records. It's not a mandate, but it is a recommendation. So we've been following those guidelines.
And I think 17 hours to formulate public comment and send an email in is plenty of time.
Thank you.
Hey, I have another question. And one thing I do also see other districts are taking formalized votes for capacity for indoor and outdoor in the stadiums, and like if the band needs to use an auditorium, or if we have public meetings, do we need to take an actual vote as a board of or approving like Mr. Soul's recommendation of a 25, last week was at least 25% usage of an area?
Let me bring
Mr.
that
Marshall,
up.
this is Gary Matta. We will be, my office will be providing a memo in regards to all of the activity. There's been, while we were in this meeting, I got a flash on my email that the Allegheny County Health Department is made changes to their recommendations with the lawsuit both in federal court and the actions of the governor. I think that there is going to be a lot of changes. So we'll be providing a memo to the board and administration trying to give a recap of where the law is at this time before you make any of those modifications. I think it would be appropriate.
I do think
Okay,
though
thank
it's
you, Mr.
appropriate, Mr. Matta, to note that we did have a meeting with the health department or the county. They reviewed our policies from the football game. There was no findings or no fines levied upon the district. They found our plan to be sufficient. And the only thing that they had recommended is that we have greater enforcement of the student section in social distancing and mask. And I believe that the administration is placing a plan to make sure that we adhere to that.
Thank you.
And just to follow up on that, so the same capacity or the same ticket number is going to be the same for tomorrow's game, correct?
That is correct. We're running, we did have the health department come visit us. We had a meeting with them, and their recommendation is we run at 25% capacity. And nice thing is we were doing a lot of the strategies we talked about already, but they did give us a little further guidance and so forth. And Mr. Solomon and I meeting with the high school administration are going to take a couple more steps even to prevent any of the social distancing issues that we had at the last game.
Are tickets available at the gate, or do we have to, are they available ahead of time? I didn't see.
Tickets were on sale today. They'll be on sale tonight at the soccer game, and they'll also be on sale tomorrow during the school day. No tickets at the gate.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does anybody else have anything else?
I have one thing. Last year, the board decided to invoke school policy 919 to allow our football coach and some of his associates to form an all sports booster group. And since then, there's been a lot of questions and concerns among parents and among the community. My concern is that no one seems to know who's actually on this board. People on the board are supposedly on this board, but then when you bring it up, no one seems to know who's on the board. And there's still elderly neighbors that I have that are waiting on refunds and such from last year. I want to make a motion for the board of directors of the All Sports Booster to provide us a list of who all is actually on the board, along with their clearances, and a copy of the audit and their financial reporting to show what's been raised and how it's been dispersed.
Is this board? I was under the impression that this board, this commit or this entity is not directly involved with the school district. It's not a school. Yes.
It was told to me by Dr. Hoover and you, Tony, before I was on the board. That you
I don't. Well, then I would. No.
So I can tell you, as any booster organization, we recognize them as an organization, and I believe we did recognize the All Sports, but we don't have any kind of control over them. It would be similar to the PTA group or something of that nature. We recognize them, but we don't have any control over their finances or how they're set up. I do believe originally Mrs. White was on the board and she resigned from the All Sports board because I believe they never had a meeting in which she could participate in.
I mean, I don't
Mrs. Englert, this is Gary Matta. I don't believe that it's a problem for the district to be asking who is on that board and what their mission is. And if this board, when I say this board, the school board, believes that their mission is not in the best interest of the students and school district, to then not recognize them any longer. So for you to make a motion to ask for that information, I don't think that we need a motion necessarily. I think that my office can send a letter or the superintendent can send a letter to whoever we believe is the person in charge at this point to see what the status, so to speak, of that organization is.
My concern again is for the policy that's on our school board website. It states that it's our responsibility of the district to provide maintenance and administration of the athletic department and co-curricular activity of funds. So and it's also stated that we can ask for an audit of any group among any group among the district.
And I would agree. Again,
so I'm concerned.
I would agree all of that.
Yes.
I think that where we need to start is to get information, who is that group, and then have them give that information to the board, and then any other information that we can gather off of them to find that. I am in agreement with you that I think it's appropriate for this board to know who they are and to know what type of funds they have and where they plan on spending those funds.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I would like to have it by next meeting.
I'll work on that with the superintendent.
Thank you.
I have been listed on that, but I have never said that I would be on that committee. How my name got on it is beyond me. I am not part of that group.
I think everybody was named, honestly, at some point somewhere. So that's why I'm wondering.
I'm on that committee or board or whatever.
Have you been in any meetings?
Who, me?
Are you the one who said you were on their board?
I went to ones that they had a fundraiser, and I went to it and spent my money.
All right, so we'll get you that information, or we'll get the board that information, hopefully by, next or sooner, or, at least by next month's meeting.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Kostelnik, second by Mrs. Ahern. Meeting adjourned.